thinking about wanting to breed reptiles or joining the hobby as a whole, growing your collection, want to be an animal educator or a YouTube star, and here are a couple things that I really wish people would have let me know when I very first wanted to get going that would have been really nice to know back then. So maybe you already have a couple animals already. You have a ball python or two. Maybe you have a couple leopard geckos or crested geckos, a bearded dragon, or maybe you're still thinking about which one you want to get, but you're really fascinated by like these large collections and these really cool bioactive enclosures, and you want to have a bunch of those. So I'm just going to give you a couple pointers or a few bits of advice that I really would have liked to know, or at least like floated out there a lot more, with a lot more ease than what was really given to me back then. So I've been keeping reptiles for over a decade now, which makes me sound really old. I'm fully aware of that fact. But the first one of this over a decade ago, which obviously I did do, but I don't think people really stressed it enough, which is research. So watching one or two YouTube videos, or even, if a channel is dedicated to like the care, the breeding, the morphs, or whatever it is of all of that, just that alone, I don't think is enough. Not to say that it's not a good source of information, but just to stick to one and that's it, I don't think is enough. I mean, I honestly would recommend 3 or 4 different reputable YouTube channels, reading books, reading articles, talking to, the brick and mortar stores, the specialty stores, talking to a lot of people who keep the individual animals and species that you want before you get into that. And that applies for not only beginning, like say you really want a ball python or you've been keeping ball pythons for a while and you want to get into something else. I'm talking about even now where I'm at. So like I said, I've been keeping for well over a decade and I want to get into Drymarchon, i.e. the Crebos and the indigo snakes. While I have enough experience to know kind of how to set them up and take care of them fairly properly, and even within probably a week or two I could dial in all of their proportions, I've never really worked with a whole lot of them. I have one, and I want to get into more. So I'm going to talk to other people who I know have been keeping them for a while, who have been breeding them successfully, what they do, and not just one person. So even I do it now. And I really wish that people would have stressed that a little bit more, other than in like a Facebook group. Just say research or Google it, or Google is a free service. And I get that, we're all guilty of giving those answers, but a new person reaching out is always a good thing. We want to encourage that and not just shoo them under the rug. So that's the biggest, and what you would think would be kind of common knowledge, or without a second thought idea or even notion, but it really is pretty important. The next one is that reptiles and snakes, and to be honest is really more to put a finer point on it, but reptiles in general are always advertised as these low maintenance pets, which in all honesty they really are. Once you get them going, it's not a whole lot. You don't need to take them out for daily walks. You don't need to play with them for 3 hours a day. They eat once a week, they poop once a week if you have a snake or something like that, right? Like that's what we always tell people, and myself included, which is entirely true. They are really good low maintenance pets, but the upfront cost on these guys is kind of that little barrier that goes into it. So, if you're thinking about getting one, if you're, younger and you want to convince your parent, if you want to convince your partner that, hey, I really want to get this corn snake, I really want to get this bearded dragon, or hey, you're going in, you already have a couple and you say, hey, I really want a Burmese python. Hey, I really want a frilled dragon. I really want a Eurymastix, one of these ones that requires a little bit more effort, a little bit more of a cost for all of the equipment. You need to be aware of that, and honestly, that's something that I was aware of at the time, but it's, you kind of get what you put into this and you get what you pay for when it comes to this hobby. So yeah, you can get started with the 10-20 gallon aquarium or the 40 gallon or whatever to start with, but that's not really the best for them. And it costs sometimes a pretty penny to set them up properly, to give them the best lives that we can, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of what helps keep these guys from becoming disposable pets. This is Callie. This is one of the very first ball pythons I got. She's just a regular pastel, although if anybody who keeps ball pythons knows, she's kind of weird. Just her pattern and everything like that, considering she's, 7 years old. But, whatever that may be, it's keeping a ball python, you get them in a 40 gallon, and you put them in a bigger gallon, and then you put them in, maybe you want to decide you wanted to breed ball pythons like I did, and everyone, you didn't know that much, and so you buy a kind of a cheap used rack, and then you take a while to dial all that in until eventually you're at the point where I'm making my own and buying them professionally and having custom-made enclosures built for me for some of the larger animals and things like that. Or bioactive, there's a whole lot of research and knowledge and cost of all the substrates and isopods and things like that. So it costs a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. I'm kind of glad that we're starting to recognize that, these guys do cost a little bit, at least to get set up, which will, once again, kind of keep them from being a throwaway pet, a first time, a training wheels pet. It's like a puppy. Yeah, the puppy kind of can sometimes cost a lot, but you need the water dish, you need the food, you need the kennel, you need the leash, you need the collar, the tags, all this other stuff that adds up, just like these guys too. So, it's something that, we all think about, but it's just a reminder, like if you want to get, a large snake, you get a baby Burmese python, which, they can make absolutely wonderful pets. But you get one that you can put into a 28 or 32 quart tub. In a year and a half, you could need a 6-foot PVC cage. So it's just things that you really need to remember, and that also plays off the research part. The next one is everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. There is a huge learning curve to everything that you do in life. Sometimes it's a little steeper and sharper than we'd like, but everyone makes mistakes, myself included. I am absolutely guilty of leaving a rat in an enclosure too long. Luckily, I've never had any issues with the rat chewing on a snake, because that can be a big problem, but I absolutely have left him in there because I didn't know any better. I went, oh, look, the rat and the snake are buddies, because my ball python was on a hunger strike. And, obviously, anyone who's been keeping reptiles for anything longer than, 6 months, or even sometimes shorter than that, knows that's insane. What is wrong with you? But I'm absolutely guilty of that. I'm absolutely guilty of, having ball pythons with consecutively shed and stuck shed issues and not addressing it fast enough. We all make mistakes and accidents happen. I had a whole video that you can check out here if you really want to of, the fire that we had, where I had all the proper precautions taken with, using heat tape and having it on a thermostat and monitoring it regularly and using an infrared thermometer to check the temps on almost a daily basis, and it still failed and it still almost caused a fire. Luckily, you can watch the video, but nothing bad happened. But accidents happen to the best of us. And so, if you're just getting started, you make a mistake, in the end, everyone will be, if all your animals are still okay, you take that experience, you learn from it, and you move forward, and you keep that with you, and then that way you can also teach the next person about that. Like I said, I've done the dumb stuff too. So, grain of salt of everything, which leads me into the next thing, which is you're going to hear a lot of noise. There's a lot of opinions from people who are just getting started, people who have one ball python, and people who have been doing it for 25, 30 years, and over the course of their tenure have had thousands of animals. You're going to hear a lot of opinions. Some of them are correct, some of them are not necessarily correct, some of them are outdated, some of them are just plain wrong. There's just a lot of noise out there. And so the biggest thing is, and all of this kind of ties together, and they all kind of, circle. It's a circle. Research, listen, learn, ask questions, because that's the best way that you can move forward into anything you do. So, when you go to a brick and mortar store or even a specialty place, you'll see, for some reason, you'll still see heat rocks. And we all know heat rocks are bad. The people in the brick and mortar stores know they're bad, but for whatever reason, they still make them and people still buy them. But we have established that that's bad. The calci sand, there's still this thing about loose substrate with lizards and things like that, which I'm not going to get into that debate, but calci sand, no thank you. Let's not do calci sand. And there are even new products that have come out since then, like the walnut bedding, where even I did research on the walnut bedding. Found out that, the way they process and mill it, it's not good for a lot of internal organs for a lot of lizard species. I did research to put a snake on there. I couldn't find anything, but you know what? I tried it out. I learned more. People talked to me about it. I researched more and I went, yeah, this is not great. Let's not use the walnut bedding. And so we changed it up for them there as well. So there's just going to be a lot of things. You're going to hear a lot of stuff about substrate. You're going to hear a lot of stuff about racks. You're going to hear a lot about lighting. Just keep your ears open. Talk to people who you trust. Talk to lots of different people. Watch plenty of YouTube videos if you can. I know us old folks, the old generation on YouTube and TikTok, those born in like the mid 90s, which makes me feel really old because I was not born in the mid 90s. Read a book, go to like a used bookstore, go to, use an actual website like Reptile Magazine, the website. They have amazing long articles about the care and the history of individual species that goes down from where they're found in the wild to multiple ways they've been kept in captivity with different substrates and heating and humidity and breeding and things like that. So just do lots of research and just kind of grain of salt everything. Kind of just take everything. Don't take the first thing or even the second or the third thing that you hear as doctrine. Just listen, mull it over, compare it to other things, see what lines up. And if anything doesn't sound too radical, give it a shot. Try it out. It's always fun to sit there and learn and research and try new things with your animals. That's a great way to interact with them. And so this last thing is actually not for any of you that are wanting to get into it, that are wanting to breed, that are wanting to be an educator, that are wanting to be the next YouTube star. Although I don't know why you're watching this channel for that, if that's what you're hoping for. But this is for the people like me who have been doing this for a while. The people that, see this content because it pops up on their For You page, or, my acquaintances that are supporting me. Any of us out there, we need to stop this kind of gatekeeping nonsense that we have going on. I see it constantly in the Facebook groups. And I know that's kind of like it's a battlegrounds. It's a mess on those Facebook groups. But a lot of that stuff is people like us who literally say, Google it. You should research. What do you think? Or just giving sarcastic answers to people who obviously don't know yet and are reaching out and asking what the correct or best things to do are. We want this hobby to grow. We want reptiles in all the homes, in every single home. We want that. Not only will it, grow our hobby, our passion, our love of animals, it's still a booming industry in this country. We're spreading that industry. We're spreading that business. We're adding clients. We're adding potential competition. So we all up our game. We want that. So to sit there and make new people coming in who are, kind of doing what a lot of people have a hard time doing and putting themselves out there and making themselves vulnerable for what will probably be a mistake that a lot of us have made. To sit there and ridicule them or dismiss them or make them feel bad, it's not great. Yeah, if something happens, it needs to be addressed, but you don't need to make them feel bad. Hey, okay, this is a thing. Here's the situation that's happened. This is how you can address this situation. In the future, try this, do this, check out this, talk to this person. Things like that. That's all it needs to be done because we want this industry to grow. We want reptiles in the hands of everyone. We want these guys to stop being misunderstood. We want to have people who go, people who keep snakes are weird. Oh, reptiles, they're dirty. Ugh. We don't want that anymore because they're not, and we all know that. So that's all. Again, I apologize for another little ranty video. I'll have plenty of more reptile content in the future. But thank you so much for sticking with me on this one. So for all of you coming into the hobby, wanting to grow, hope any of this helps you out. For all of you that have been keeping around for a long time, don't think I'm, ragging on any of you guys. I'm just saying, let's stop this. Let's grow this. Let's come together. I know we hear the unity and things like that all over the place right now in this and other things, but we really do need to bring people in. We need to stop pushing people away, especially people who don't know any better yet. So, thank you again so much. If you have any questions, comments, you know where to find me, jzreptiles@gmail.com. The comments down below, Facebook, Instagram. Check out our Patreon. Check out my podcast, Keep Comments Just a Snake Podcast. If you have any ideas for future content of both a podcast or these videos, let me know. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll check you next time.